Christians are being taken out in Syria, and the majority of the mainstream media has remained silent. This reminds me of the situation my buddy What Do You Meme just covered several weeks ago, where 70 Christians were beheaded by ISIS. And with this new conflict, there seems to be a horrifying new trend. Yet, the mainstream media refuses to cover it. In this video, we'll cover exactly what life is like for Christians in Syria right now, who's responsible for the situation, your first guess is probably right, and the horrifying details around this conflict that you will not get from the mainstream legacy news. But before we get into that, guys, this channel is just to encourage, empower, inspire you to live a life that blesses God. Oftentimes, that requires us talking about the dark things that are happening in the world to bring awareness to them and what we can do about it here in the West, where most of us aren't having to deal with persecution like this. So if you're new here, if you're not new here, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Unfortunately, a huge percentage of the people that watch this channel regularly are not subscribed. All right, let's jump into this video. Some of this stuff kind of hits a little close home for me because I am a refugee who was displaced from Azerbaijan. Armenians were pushed out back in the late 80s because of the pogroms of Baku, and most recently over 100,000 pushed out. And there were thousands. So this is a little close home. And what I don't want to do is pretend like I'm a geopolitical expert. So big shout out to CBN News, who have done a great job breaking this stuff down. We're going to look at two of their videos right now. This is the first one, The Truth About Christians in Syria. Go ahead.
High casualties are reported in Syria with at least 1,000 civilians by militant Islamists in the country's west in Latakia, Hama, and Homs. There are religious minorities, including women and children. Joining us with the latest information about this is John Samara. He's executive director of Ananias House. That's an organization that works in Syria and throughout North Africa and the Middle East. John, there are a lot of rumors floating around social media. First, our viewers are concerned primarily, of course, with the fate of our brothers and sisters in Christ. So what can you tell us about Christian victims? Were they targeted? How many were killed and injured? What have you heard?
Well, Gary, thank you for having me. There is a lot of report, and right now what we're seeing, and this has become public report, official report coming also from the Orthodox Church and the Christian and as a whole community inside Syria. There were in the coastal area where Banyas, Latakia, and Tartus, these major cities, and all the villages and the town around surrounding these areas as well, has we seen severe attack on the Alawite people group, as this is what happened originally by Alawite militant group attacking the new security forces and killing 20 of them. Then in response, this militant group came in, plus the security forces and attacked to respond. But on the way, this militant group began to slaughter villages and town, eradicating whole towns and villages. Civilian men and women, children were slaughtered. There is a building of only doctors and pharmaceutical people. They went in and they slaughtered everybody in that building.
We're going to go into why this is happening and kind of some of the origins in another clip we're reacting to in a minute. But this is interesting that they're saying these are now verified reports. This is now verified by the Orthodox Church. In a minute, he's going to talk about how there's evangelical Christians in Syria as well, in the coastal towns. And so this is unprecedented. I know it's a word that's been used a lot, but the fact that this is happening, the fact that this is being streamed, they're releasing these videos themselves, they're trying to make a statement.
Taking place as we speak in the last 48 hours. It's been horrific atrocity to see this militant radical group going in. They're going into areas where Alawite and Christian villages are located, and they're forcing them to evacuate and to leave. As they force them to evacuate and leave with cold blood shot and killed many of them, and some of them were Christian, as affirmed report coming from the field from the Orthodox Church as well. A father and a son were forced to leave. They were forced to evict by this radical group, and at checkpoint they were cold-blooded and murdered.
That's heavy. I mean, so this is, at this point, it sounds fairly indiscriminate. They're just taking out kids. The world's peaceful religion now showing you how peaceful they are on the first couple of days of Ramadan.
We mourn with our families, we mourn with our churches, and we mourn for the other who are innocent, have nothing to do with this battle and this war, but they're caught just because they're part of a sect. And the injustice taking place need to be stopped. Somebody need to speak up from the Western world, from the United States, and to put a stop for this. All the Muslim community today, there was massive protests in Damascus, going in a major area, located a historical area in Damascus, and protesting the of the civilian. They're Muslim, Sunni, Christian, Alawite, Druze coming together and united, protesting this evil that taken place. But today they were faced by the HTS security forces. They began to shoot bullets in the air and beating on some of the people trying to break these protests.
Weird. They want to break these protests up. Like Muslims are finally speaking out against violence, and then people want to break the protest up. That doesn't make any sense. So now we're going to look at another clip that actually gives us a bit more information on the origins of this conflict.
Main heading, welcome to Jerusalem Dateline.
Thank you, Julie.
Tell us what's happening in Syria right now. Who is getting killed?
In the most shocking images that we've seen in My entire life in the humanitarian world, we have seen the images of Sunnis from the HDS, which is the current leadership of Syria, and other Turkish-backed militias, Alawites, and anyone else, including Christians that live in that.
So Sunnis is a stream of Islam. There's two streams of Islam. There's Sunnis and there's Shiite. I think that's how you say the other word. The Sunnis are backing the militia, the current militia. Remember, the current militia of Syria took over Syria, like on some strong arm vibes. And they are now going through, and they're basically slaughtering ethnic minority groups, which includes Christians. Okay. And there's videos all over. It's been all over. It's like, I'm not going to play them right now. I don't think they follow YouTube's community guys, but it's pretty graphic. I mean, it's just dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of bodies. And it's really dark. And so this is happening like in real time right now.
Population area on the coastal plains of Syria.
Wow. So it's mostly Alawites that are getting killed, or what kind of numbers? What are you hearing from there?
We're hearing reports of 2,000 to 3,000, and it's increasing every couple of hours. And we're seeing images and speaking to people on the ground that are just saying the bodies are piled up in the streets. So we are estimating that these numbers are low. It's probably closer to 8 to 10.
And they're mostly Alawites.
8 to 10,000?
8 to 10,000.
Isn't it crazy that, like, when you're talking about religions, Christianity will get called out for the Crusades?
They're doing crusades right now.
Yeah, which is like, how about the thousands of people dying right now?
Yeah, pretty dark stuff.
Alawites. Who are the Alawites?
The Alawites are an ethnic religious entity or component in Syria, which is making up many of the different components of Syria, different ethnic religious minorities. So you have Christians, Alawites, Kurds, many different ethno-religious groups, and the Alawites are the group that is associated, unfortunately, with the Assad regime, but not every civilian is Assad and can't be held responsible.
So Assad is the previous leadership. So this group, this Alawites group, was affiliated with the previous leadership, and so this new strong-arm leadership is going out and slaughtering these ethnic minorities, which includes Christians, because of their affiliation with the previous administration, which was also bad. This whole region is just, and so like I don't mean to like cape for Israel, but like the fact that Israel's the only country in this region that's semi-normal and stable, and like you can be a for Palestine and Israel, like should tell you a lot about.
It's a fact.
that like they're not as crazy as they think. I could disagree with some of their stuff on Gaza, whatever, but like there's not a lot of stable nations in this part of the world, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Responsible for what Assad did.
Right. And those were mostly the people that got mad over this last weekend?
Yes, this is a Sunni revenge of Jilani, the current self-made president of Syria, and his groups of jihadists basically that make up his government, that have been on an absolute rampage and a killing spree across the coastal plains of Syria.
And what's the state of the Christians there?
Well, the Christian community is interspersed within all of these communities, including a significant number along this coastal plain region where the Alawites live. And I've spoken to many of the Christians in this area, and they are experiencing this random looting and in exactly the same way as the Alawites.
So they're now lumped in with the Alawites. And again, this stuff happens all the time.
Wow, we're in a neighborhood. Should we knock out them Jesus lovers too? That's what it's kind of like.
Yeah, and they're like yelling Allah. Like it's the whole kit and caboodle. They're streaming it. You know what I mean? So like people bugged out October 7th. This is like multiple October 7th. You know, and oddly enough, Israel is one of the only people that are speaking out against this. You know, and I think the United States is also speaking out against this. But a lot of this, it's pretty dark, man.
Crusades Part 2?
No.
Which nation would be the Crusaders? Israel's the only one capable.
It would be Israel.
Dang.
Yeah, it would be Israel. Or under this new administration, like he might just, he might just jump all the way out the window.
Only Christians put on a military uniform. The Crusade edition. It's white with the daggone. It's camo, but it's white with the red cross. That would go hard.
White camo with the white red cross.
Oh, like white camo.
A white camo.
Like you're in the snow with the red cross, but has some like red camo, and it's like the Crusade cross.
Have been. So this is a Sunni, which Jilani is a Sunni. These are his groups, his government-controlled groups that are committing these ethno-religious acts, very much like we saw with ISIS, which was also Sunni, against other ethnic religious minorities.
And how should the world be responding to this? I mean, it's kind of been under the radar to a certain extent.
Under the radar in most places except Israel. Israel has been strikingly on this from the very beginning when Jilani or al-Shara took over Syria. They have called him out for being the terrorist that he is. He was part of the Jabhat al-Nusra or al-Qaeda group in Syria. He had a $10 million bounty on his head for many ethno-religious minorities across Iraq and Syria and Americans. So I think the international response, including Marco Rubio just in the last day, has been really strong coming against these jihad.
So the United States has spoken out about this.
Wow, this is crazy.
Prayers up for Christians everywhere. I mean, are going through it. Like we just, a couple of weeks ago, we saw a church go, you know? So this stuff is like, it's happening more and more, and maybe with the internet and the world being smaller, bring more awareness to it. I don't know how you prevent this.
Do you think the root of it is Islam?
I think so. Like, if I had to be fully honest, like no holds barred, and I'm not trying to like be delicate, like I would say probably. I think and again, the reality of how Islam radicalizes people is it's just like unlike anything I've ever seen. So keep the people in Syria in your prayers. And if you want to see John McCrae's video on when he covered the 70 Christians beheaded just a few weeks ago, we'll have that over here. If you want to see a video that YouTube recommends for my channel, for you, we'll have that over here. Let me know if they got it right. All right, we'll see you later. Peace.